Last year I showed you my original 1990 Nintendo The Power Game Calendar. This calendar features many different NES games over its 12 months and actually ends with a 13th month, a bonus calendar page for January 1991. A more detailed video dedicated to this calendar is linked in the card above. The following year they produced another calendar so I can pick up right where I left off. This is my original 1991 Nintendo The Power Game Calendar. I'll remind you why this is even relevant to talk about now. As you see, 1991 started on a Tuesday, and so does this year, 2019. Ignoring certain holidays, there are actually only 14 possible calendars for our Gregorian system. A year can start on any day of the week, that accounts for 7 unique grids, and then there is a leap year variant for each of those layouts. Not all 14 possible calendars repeat with the same frequency, but they all repeat at various intervals. So in essence, this 28-year-old calendar is a suitable substitution for a 2019 calendar and can be posted in any game room for a bit of retro flair. As before, they've included tips for certain games. I'll flip through it to show each month. This calendar will only show NES games as the SNES and its games hadn't been released by the time of this calendar's publication. Last year's calendar highlighted 11 different games, with only 2 titles being repeated, albeit with different artwork. Unfortunately, this calendar only shows 7 different games, with all but 1 being repeated. I said that this calendar would show some retro flair, but these titles are still relevant today. All 7 games are included in the NES Classic Edition, and over half, so far, are available to subscribers of the Nintendo Switch Online service. Here's an example of using the game's assets to good effect. They've used the ropes and audience camera flashes to create the calendar matrix. It works perfectly with the art. I wonder if someone was trying to tell us something about bald bull and camera flashes. Compare that to this month. They've sacrificed the usability of a grid in the name of artistic license. It's a very creative interpretation, but I think I prefer my calendar easier to use. By July, things start to get really interesting for me. I've noted a date here. As part of an offer for my first Nintendo Power subscription, I received a bonus guide, this NES Atlas. This guide has been brutalized over the years and is in unfortunate shape, but it was an invaluable resource. With this guide's help, I was able to beat Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. I don't generally rely on guides even now, but for some games they are a big help. Then, 2 weeks later, I got my second bonus, the Game Boy Player's Guide. It's loaded with lots of strategy and snippets of tons of different Game Boy games. I love my Game Boy and used to pore over this guide fervently and wish I had so many of these games. Late August marks the US launch of the Super Nintendo and the receipt of my third bonus guide, Mario Mania. This tome is split between lots of Mario trivia and history and a full guide to the brand new Super Mario World. Even though we didn't get an SNES right at launch, my family did get one later in the year as an early Christmas present. I'm still grateful for that to this day. As you can tell, 1991 was a tremendous time to be a Nintendo fan. Although I didn't mark the date, I finally received my last subscriber bonus, probably in September, perhaps in October, the Top Secret Passwords Guide. Before GameFAQs existed, or indeed before I would have any sort of internet access, guides like this were regarded as important reference material. Rather than trying to remember what issue of what magazine had which codes, they were all here in an easy-to-search form. Here's another Zelda month with a non-standard date framework. It's a great allusion to the game, though. And finally, a Zelda month where they actually worked the calendar into a normal grid. Congratulations, artists. And again, we reached January of the following year. 2 more of these calendars were produced for 1992 and 1993, and they will mirror 2020 and 2021 respectively. As a matter of fact, 2020 is a leap year, and 1992 is the most recent calendar that matches it. Unfortunately, I never got these calendars at the time, so it is likely this will be my final year to do this. But if you happen to have them, remember you can hang them up once again. Even old things get to be useful again on occasion, right? Thanks again for allowing me to share my collection and memories, but it doesn't have to stop with me. Do you still have any of these calendars? What month has your favorite artwork? What gaming items have you kept for years despite all odds?